Hello, could you hear me?
Yes, I can hear
Hello.
you, Carl.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so let us officially call to order Manhattan Community Board's Public Safety and Transportation Committee meeting March the 13th of 2025 at 6:30 p.m. My name is Michelle Wiltshire Clement. I am the chair of this committee. And as of today, Jose Altamirano is the vice chair of this committee. We would like to thank Dawn Sanders for all the work that she has done. However, due to personal reasons, she has decided to step back a little bit, and Jose has stepped up for this role, for these 3 months. Let us begin with a few ground rules. No one may speak until granted the floor. CB11 members, if you have a question about board business or wish to make a motion, please raise your hand and wait to be recognized. To raise your hand through Zoom, click the participant's icon and you will find the raise hand function there. Members should not engage in a back and forth discussion. The chair will recognize the next person to speak. Please keep your questions and comments brief and on topic to the discussion. And members of the public, if you have a question or comment about the subjects on the agenda, please raise your hand and wait to be recognized. And on that note, let us have a call to order, and Khalid Nixon is our staff liaison for this evening.
Okay, members, you have 10 committee members total, 6 needed for quorum. Jose Altamirano. Carlos Diaz.
Present.
Pascal Hano. President. Thank you. Wanda Hopkins. Wanda, you're muted.
We'll go back to her.
All right. Christina Johnson. Absent. Jewel Jones.
Present.
Thank you. Sage Mason. Absent. Valerie Ponte.
Present.
Thank you. Don Sanders. Absent. Michelle Wiltshire Clement.
Present.
Thank you. So you have 5 only responding right now. You need Wanda to confirm her presence, so then you have one. Wanda, are you here with us? Can you unmute and confirm your presence, please? Otherwise, you have to go to recess.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Wanda, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
And on that note, we've looked at the adoption of the agenda. We've looked at our agenda previously. Do we all agree? Silence, yes. Agreement? Yes. And the minutes done by Khalid, Pascal, and myself this month. Do we agree on the minutes?
Yes.
All right, beautiful. Then we will continue on. We have a few announcements. And from our keynote speaker, Sergeant Tiffany Howell, she sent us a few things with keeping our youth off the street. One of them is a phrase dance. And they're now accepting applicants. It's on our website. Another one is calling percussionists and musicians of all sorts to be part of a competition, which I think is, instead of just sport, which some people, basketball, baseball. Here are a variety of things that are happening. And unfortunately, this has already passed. It was on our website, and it was a STEM competition. And the first prize, $2,500, not too bad. And the third prize, $1,500, not too bad. So there are a lot of different activities to keep our youth off the street and safe. And Sergeant Tiffany Howell has been really good at disseminating this information to us. Do we have any other announcements?
Yeah, Madam Chair, I just want to announce that that Metropolitan Hospital had their legislative breakfast. It was very successful, and we had some board members there. I just want to acknowledge some of the members that were there. I was able to see Rosie. The chairman was there, so those who I didn't see that probably showed up, we want to thank her for coming.
Thank you. Okay, and do we have any other further announcements? Silence. Need. Acceptance. Therefore, let us go to our informational updates. Do we have anyone from the police department online?
Yes, sir. Detective Powers, 225.
Let us start with the. Welcome, Detective Howard.
Good
You
evening,
have the
everybody. How everybody doing today?
Fine, thank you.
So my update is pretty brief, which is a good thing. So pretty much overall, we're down 45% overall in crimes citywide.
45%, you said?
Yes, we're down by 45%. So, which is good news. For the 28-day period, we have 0 murders. Rapes, we have 2, both of them are domestic incident related. Robberies, we have 13. Felony assaults, we have 9. We took a couple of assaults like on 3rd Avenue and a couple on like 125th Street. It was mostly like, some of them were like domestic incident related. Others were like, just random. Burglaries, we have 4. Grand larcenies, we have 25, which is last year on the 28-day period around this time, we had 40. So we're down by 37%. Most of them are stemming from like the stores that's like, like in the mall. And, a lot of people are taking things out and, without paying. So that's where most of the grand larcenies are coming from. Grand larceny autos, we have 0 for the 28-day period. We did get a lot of information around, how to safeguard your car because we did take a lot of grand larcenies throughout the months, mostly from the delivery drivers. So we did a lot of seminars and we went around and like, telling people the importance of taking your keys out of your car. Like if you're going to say to deliver something, drop something off or whatever it was. So overall, like we have 0 and which is good. We did have deploy the official. Oh gosh, I'm I'm sorry, everybody. We did deploy like a few more cops, like throughout 116th Street and 125th Street, mostly in the subway. Because like we had like a big issue on 116th Street subway, so we did deploy like a lot of foot posts around there. You see like a lot more cops like down in the train station and above, like walking up and down 116th Street from 2nd to 5th Avenue.
Mhm.
As far as like community, announcements, our community council meeting is next week. Is on Wednesday, March 19th, is at 6 p.m. It's gonna take place here at the 25th precinct. And that's my update for the 25th precinct.
Thank you. Do we have any questions? Oh, I'm hearing crickets. I really am so happy that there's a 45%. I couldn't even like control myself, like, yeah, 45% decrease.
Yes, most of
That-
them because I'm sure you heard like the news of like a lot of the cops they're being redeployed everywhere. So they did redeploy some cops in like higher crime zones. 2 of the most notorious zones in the 25th precinct is 125th Street and 116th Street. I'm sure like as the weather gets warmer, like a lot more people be outside, so we'll have like much more additional. We'll have our summer posts that we normally do, but as of now, we do have like a lot of foot posts in those higher crime areas, and hopefully that's making a difference and like people are feeling a little safer.
And to hear that there's 0 grand, I mean, cars were just always being taken.
Right.
Because the keys are being left in, so that information getting out there has worked. I am very happy to hear that. Thank you so much.
No problem. Anytime.
Okay, and you said Wednesday, March the 19th is the next 25.
Yes, so this coming Wednesday, on March 19th at 6 p.m.
At 6 p.m., okay,
Yes, and it's gonna be at the precinct.
at the precinct, okay, thank you.
No problem.
Thank you for your time and thank you for your service.
Of course, thank you again for having me. Take care, everybody.
Take care.
Thank you.
Do you have anyone from the 2-3?
Detective Rivera said he wouldn't be able to attend today, so he would be sending his recent stats later on, so we just made that available.
Okay, thank you. All right,
And no one from PSA 5. Same thing.
ouch, okay. And I do not see the representative for the fire department as well. Is he online,
No. What was his name?
Richardson?
No. There was no interest in here.
Okay. Is there anyone from the district attorney's office?
No one here I recognize.
Okay. If there's anyone from the district attorney's office online, please raise your hand. All right then. And we do have people here from the Department of Transportation in numbers. However, shall we stay that until we get to the allotted time? Is that okay? In agreement. All right, do we have anyone from any public safety transportation advocacy groups?
No one's raising their hand.
Okay, and we already had Carlos so nicely describe what happened at the Metropolitan Hospital, like a legislative breakfast as part of the outreach reports. Do we have any other outreach reports that we would like to share at this particular point? Yes, Pascal.
Yes, I went to the MTA's. It's slipping my mind now. They had a presentation on, I think, the ADA accessibility upgrades that they want to do. That's a part of their capital plan. They provided a brief presentation. It was about an hour. They went over pretty much what their plans were coming up, the station that they were looking to upgrade, where the funding was coming from. Spoke briefly about congestion pricing and how that relates to the capital, the money that they're receiving, and which stations are receiving upgrades for that. I shared the presentation. It was really nice. They did provide a tool, online tool for board members and community members to basically request with stations that they feel like needs an upgrade
Good,
immediately.
we will definitely.
So I did it before the meeting and they gave us like a nice little write-up to share that we could possibly put in our newsletter with the link so we could give it out to the community so they can answer. I think you could put 3 stations down or something like that, and you prioritize it from your most like important one to your least.
And did that also including the maintenance of stations? Because there's some stations that actually have ADA accessibility, but they don't work regularly.
Yeah, that was the question that was posed. They said some of the money is earmarked in there for that. But it wasn't a specific, like, yeah, this is what we're using it for. I did have some questions about like just some accessibility, language access and like wayfinding. And they shared with me a pretty like interesting app where you can use it and it's pretty much like, I guess like it'll announce things to you, which they already do have in the station, but the app helps you with like audio and there's some like visual like aids on the app as well. So that was like really nice to hear, especially for our community where we have, a large number of people who speak multiple languages. It's just not their first language.
Thank you. That sounds like it was really exciting. I really wish I could have gone, but unfortunately I had to do something at that time. So I'm glad that you were able to go and bring back that information for us.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Any others? I know I received a lot of different papers and whatnot. I thought email. Hello there. I'm glad that you can make it. I see why you didn't want to take notes. Take a seat right there. Oh, Officer Dow is from PSA 5.
Yes.
Okay, so we'll just continue with our community outreach and wait till we can connect back on, okay? Okay. So I'm glad that I was able to get the different emails from people on the topics concerning our public safety and transportation. And what we'll start doing is I will start doing is uploading it to one particular thing so that we can all take a read of everything. As well as different photos that we see that need changing in our area. And then we'll have that as a running, a way of communicating with ourselves and then disseminating it to our constituents. I was able to go to the 2-5 precincts council meeting this past month, and I was only able to go to a portion of it, but what I did, and they were very happy that Community Board 11 made a showing as soon as I walked in. With us going out there and listening to people, it really does make a difference. They do take notice, and they will start saying, oh, can you listen to this, either complaint or compliment. And that is what we are here for. We need to hear. Hello. I just asked you to sign, there's a thing to sign in. Any other community outreach that is happening in our neighborhood? From anyone online, Wanda or Carlos, or I think those are the only two members that are online.
Don's haven't shown us.
Hello, Dawn. Any community outreach that you've done this month?
No, I'm sorry to report I have not. Sorry about that.
You weren't here when I said that, we thank you for all the service that you have done this past year, and we appreciate you. That you are stepping back for a little while, but we appreciate the service that you did give us as vice chair. Thank you so much. Okay? I just had to reiterate so that she could actually hear. Is the representative from PSA 5, is he connected as yet?
He left, actually. He was on, but he left.
Okay, he kept trying to connect. All right. So let us continue. And now, with the slew of people that are here from the Department of Transportation, we are going to listen to the proposed bus lane priority project on East 160. Yes, Rafael, yes.
Rafael Escano, Manhattan Borough Planner. I don't have any update, but I do have a team that came here to present. And I will have our Deputy Commissioner, Jennifer Sandrines, who are going to present the rest of the team who's going to make the presentation.
Rafael, and thank you, Michelle, and the board for having us on the agenda tonight. For anybody that doesn't know me, I'm Jennifer Sandrines. I'm the Manhattan Deputy Borough Commissioner, New York City Department of Transportation. You're always welcome to visit us on Maiden Lane in Lower Manhattan. But we came here tonight with the transit development team, as well as our colleagues from MTA, to present what we're calling the existing condition study for 116th Street. And that's from Morningside to Pleasant Avenue. Thank you for pulling up the deck. Luke Zavados, who's the project manager, will be running through the presentation tonight. So we're not coming with a proposal. This isn't an exact, this is what DOT is planning to do. It's more of a, this is where DOT is looking at potential improvements for bus lane enhancements as well as pedestrian safety. And we come to the committee tonight to ask for more feedback, problematic locations, any hyper local input that can help us develop a proposal that will match the community board's needs. So with that, I'll just go ahead and hand it over to you.
Thanks so much. I guess I'll soon up here, but maybe we can introduce the other folks at DOT and MTA that we're joined by. My name is Luke Zavados. I work for the Transit Development Unit, but
Oh, I'm Jamie Cho. I'm a bus planner at the MTA.
I'm Dustin Koo. I'm also in Trend Development Unit at DOT.
My name is Mariah Richardson. I work in data analysis for the MTA.
So a really great team we have here tonight. So keep those questions, write them down because we're going to take those, and we are really excited to talk to you today about 116th Street. So the street that you know and love. Here's a great photo to just kind of kick us off. And in the bus priority unit, we're trying to prioritize people who ride buses. And here's a situation that we see far too often where somebody's still parked in a bus stop, and the ADA potential of boarding the bus is kind of diminished, where people have to get off and walk into the street. But feel free to advance, or if you want, you can say. Okay. So we're going to go over background and introduction, the existing conditions of the corridor, which you'll be very familiar with, a toolkit we have at our disposal for the corridor, followed by next steps, and then we'll feed into the discussion piece. So why 116th Street? Well, our study area is 116th Street, and we're also including Pleasant Avenue and Manhattan Avenue, where the M116 bus route is. The total study area is 2.2 miles. This study area sees an astounding amount of bus riders across 10 different routes. Those 10 routes total a daily ridership of over 65,000 riders. So a lot of people using the M3, the M7, the M102, the M116, then our express buses, the BXM1, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 11. It's a critical crosstown corridor with connections to the 2, 3, 6, B, and C, and 7 different perpendicular bus routes. Safety for pedestrians is also a really critical piece of this proposal. We'll get into it a little later, but you've got several priority intersections that we're going to be talking about. This project and this corridor comes from the New York City Streets Plan, which was a 2021 legislative action from the City Council that mandated that we increase sustainable travel modes by reconfiguring streets, expand access to job opportunities through faster and more reliable transit options, and allow all New Yorkers to get around the city in multiple ways without encountering barriers to travel. So you can see here 116th Street and Manhattan Avenue were cited in that 2021 plan. It's also within a priority tier 1 investment area. So these are areas of the city where historically we haven't seen as many safety improvements or transit improvements. So we're really hoping to right that by investing in safety and transit in PIA1 areas. Work to date, you're familiar with 3rd Avenue. We're another unit in our DOT, the bikes unit is coming to you guys or has been engaging around their proposal for a complete street project. That's a separate project from what we're presenting tonight. It's also a separate unit. You all are also familiar with the 117th Street curb extension that was made in 2022.
I'm sorry, real quick, you said the bike extension?
Curb.
And
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand.
Yeah, it's like the painted right outside the East River Plaza, the painted curb extension. It has people parking in it. But as you've been aware, I think we communicated with you that this is done through our public realm team, but they're gonna install planters in that curb extension.
Well, that's not confused.
Yeah, we're just wanting to acknowledge the other work that we've done in your neighborhood. But these are totally separate projects that are done by totally separate units, and we won't be able to really talk too much about those projects. But we'll kick it over to the MTA and Jamie.
Sure. So thank you, Luke. So overall bus speeds are slowed throughout 116th Street throughout the day. And then during the weekdays, most segments have speeds of less than 6 miles per hour, with some moving at less than 4 miles per hour in some segments. These maps that we'll be showing over here goes through the AM peak, the midday, and the PM peak, which slows down considerably throughout the day. And these slower speeds are especially concentrated on 116th Street between Fifth Avenue and First Avenue, where a lot of traffic congestion and double parking occurs. And the weekday congestion causes 785 hours delay to M116 passengers daily. So going on to ridership, as Luke mentioned earlier, approximately 65,000 daily weekday riders use the 4 local routes along the study area, which is the M3, M7, M102, and M116. And there are about 12,800 people per day getting on these buses. As shown on the stop usage map, the ons and off of the bus in the study area is the highest near the subway stations for the B and C at Frederick Douglass Boulevard, the 2 and 3 at Malcolm X Boulevard, and then the 6th train at Lexington Avenue. There's also high ridership at the transfer locations of north and south bus routes, such as the M15 SPS and the M101, 102, and 103. So going on to the next map. This is the on-bus ridership map, which illustrates the high weekday ridership traveling across much of 116th Street and Manhattan Avenue, especially on westbound 116th Street between 2nd Avenue and 5th Avenue, where some Bronx to Manhattan express buses travel southbound towards Midtown. And at that segment, we see more than 6,000 daily weekday riders going westbound and at least 3,000 riders going eastbound. And overall, on the 116th Street portion of the study area, approximately 24,500 daily weekday riders travel on bus. And all of these riders could benefit from bus priority in the corridor. So ultimately, the existing traffic conditions and slow speeds make it difficult for us to deliver fast and reliable service to our customers who rely on these routes to get to their everyday destinations, such as to work, to school, or to shop. And back to you, Luke.
Thanks so much, Jamie. In terms of demographics, we've looked at a catchment area of within a quarter mile of the project area. So a quarter mile, because that's typically how like a good distance where people will walk to the bus. We found that according to the census, over 91,000 residents live within a quarter mile of the study area. 79 of those households are car free. They don't own a car. That's above the city average of 55%. 87% commute to work via public transit, walking or biking. Again, that's above the city average of 71%. Community Board 11 is designated as a priority youth injury area. So when it comes to public safety, the safety of our streets and especially our youngest and most vulnerable New Yorkers are really prioritized in CB11, or we want to prioritize. And CB11 is also a senior area. So we're looking to prioritize those two. Apologies for, I'm not sure what happened, but it looks like through some, the graph is a little bit wonky. Yeah, we also have it printed, so I can show you. It's basically just a pie chart of what we talked about. So here are 5 presentations if you're interested. Thank you. 116th Street is a truck route between Adam Clayton Powell Jr. Boulevard and First Avenue. So that means that we have to accommodate these large size vehicles, which makes it actually pretty challenging sometimes to I'm sorry. Thank you. So we have to really keep in mind, the freight needs of the neighborhood or the corridor too. So that comes with, extra attention to safety. So looking at a 5-year period between 2019 and 2023, our 2024 data still we're processing it. 573 people were injured in crashes in the study area. That's an average of more than 2 injuries every week. 34 people were severely injured and 4 people were killed. When we talk about Vision Zero priority areas, 116th Street is a priority corridor. So when we're looking to make improvements, we're really focused in a safety, pedestrian safety and motorist safety too, kind of way. It's a priority zone with 3 different priority intersections, Malcolm X and 116th, Lexington, 116th Street, and First Avenue and 116th Street. The study area ranks in the top 10% of the most dangerous corridors in Manhattan, with 17.6 people killed or severely injured per mile. Here's an example of some of the challenging, as you guys all know, the challenging atmosphere around pedestrian and motor vehicle conflicts, where there's not much safety for pedestrians. In terms of public health, transportation is intricately linked to public health. Residents in neighborhoods near 116th Street have higher asthma rates, diabetes, heart disease, in part due to exposure of vehicle pollution. We worked with the Department of Health to get these statistics. Here on the right, you can see the asthma hospitalizations for children due to ozone. And you can see that in Harlem, Central and East Harlem is higher. Increased transit use can contribute to improved air quality by reducing reliance on motor vehicles and decreasing the associated exhaust pollution. Research shows that transit may promote social connections and lower rates of depressive symptoms in older adults, and that transit is linked to increased walking, which is good for health. So what are the goals of our studying 116th Street and Pleasant Avenue? Well, we want to make bus service fast, reliable, and on time. We want to make the corridor safe to walk and drive. We want to increase access to businesses and make sure that access isn't diminished. Some of the challenges are traffic congestion, double parking, and vehicular access needs. So we have here, these are commercial businesses that are trying to access the curb, but they're unable to. And as a result, traffic speeds actually can be in throughput. Circulation is decreased. In terms of the roadway geometry, 116th Street is 60 feet wide. It's got a shared 19-foot parking lane, travel lane in each direction, and a shared 11-foot travel lane. Pleasant Avenue is also 60 feet wide, and it's got a 30-foot shared parking and travel lane. Manhattan Avenue is 42 feet wide. That's in CB 10 and 9. In terms of our toolkit, we're looking at several different ways to help speed up bus reliability. These are just generally what we can do. The first is an offset bus lane. So it's offset from the curb. This design allows to maintain parking. This is great. It's actually shown to really improve bus speeds compared to curbside bus lanes, which are effective really at bus stops. This allows a dedicated space that everybody can tell this bus stop is for the bus, it's painted red. And often if we use curbside bus lanes, if the roadway is really narrow, prohibits us from using other options. Bus queue jump signals, these are dedicated street signals just for the bus to get ahead of traffic. We usually use these with, they're called lead pedestrian intervals, that 7-second head start where the pedestrians are allowed to go. And when buses can move in the same direction, we try to give a pair of those signals with that. Improved stop spacing. So sometimes there are a lot of bus stops very close together. And if we can consolidate some of those and better space them out based on trends of existing ridership, we can make faster buses. We can also provide more parking, which I know is a real need in the neighborhood. At the bus stop, we have street furniture that we can use, such as leaning bars, benches, these rubber bus borders that allow the bus stop to kind of meet the bus where it is, instead of having the bus pull over to the curb. We also have a team of concrete crews that improve physical accessibility at the intersections, bus or pedestrian pads, I think they're called. Pedestrian safety is a really thing that we're excited to bring to 116th Street. It includes concrete pedestrian islands, painted curb extensions and concrete curb extensions. You'll recognize this project that we did along Park Avenue in your district, really benefits a lot of people. Mid-block crossings, these are in areas where there's a lot of existing pedestrians just crossing mid-block because the blocks are very long. Left turn bays, these may seem like not a big deal, but it does a lot to calm the tone of the traffic so that people can anticipate where people are turning left and where people are going straight. So this actually helps motorists and pedestrians anticipate where people are going to be. Parking meters, there's a lot of existing parking meters here. Truck loading zones, there are truck loading zones. You know, we're exploring places where we might need extra park loading zones or just considering where they are. Short-term parking, so a lot of times the 2-hour meters don't really reflect the needs of businesses. And if we can increase turnover, we can provide businesses with better access to their customers by allowing more business on the curb. No parking and no standing areas. These are good for daylighting as well to allow visibility from pedestrians to the bus and to motorists. Other tools we have at our disposal are traffic signal timing. So any adjustments we make to the street, we can time the traffic signals, actually, the red and green traffic lights. We have transit signal priority, which is where the buses communicate with the green lights so that as the bus gets closer, the green light turns green a little bit sooner. We also have the ability to install stationary cameras. These stationary cameras enforce moving violations. The MTA has the ability to put on bus cameras, which enforce parking regulations in the bus lanes. We also have concrete crews at our disposal. They can install tree pits. We coordinate with the Parks Department to install trees, which is a really exciting place, especially in heat vulnerable areas or areas that just don't have trees. Automated pedestrian signals. Thank you for sticking with us. I know there's a lot of stuff. These are those chirping, audible things that you hear for crossing the street. Those are good for the visually impaired. We also have a DOT art unit that paints murals, and we have them at our disposal too. So a lot of great resources that we can bring to 116th Street. In terms of next steps, we're here talking to you today, trying to get feedback and talk more holistically about the corridor. The feedback you share with us, which isn't restricted to tonight. If you have thoughts, you can always email Jennifer and Raphael, and they will get that feedback. We're going to do site visits. We have data collection throughout the spring. We're going to continue public outreach. We're conducting traffic analysis to really better understand the data around how people are moving around the street. And we'll develop and share publicly these draft plans and incorporate more of your feedback to refine a proposal that aligns with all of our needs. And we potentially look for implementation of some kind of improvements summer or fall this year. So this, in terms of discussion and feedback, these are some guiding questions we can use. How does it operate right now? What works, what doesn't? Are there any specific problematic locations or conditions? And what additional stakeholders do you think we need to be talking to? So that's everything. Thank you so much.
Do you have any questions from yes? Tina Johnson.
Thank you so much for coming out and doing it, and, just so you know, I'm not winking. 117 and Pleasant Avenue. There is a huge intersection there. There are 3 schools in the neighborhood, especially an elementary school. There is no light there and cars are consistently running through that stop sign. Can you guys look at putting a light there for those kids?
If I may,
Mhm.
you could bring it up to my attention,
Well, you know what? I was over there the other day and I just happened to notice it, and since we're here, cause I'll forget, so, but yes.
Okay, ask the question is in regards to 116th Street, but those kind of issues, you know, you could bring it up to my
But no,
attention.
but doesn't the bus go around
The
that
bus
way?
goes in that
Yeah,
area,
right.
so that's.
Yeah.
that's-
Oh,
You're
that's
absolutely
that way.
right. Pleasant Avenue
Yeah.
150 is
Okay,
intersected.
you got a point.
Actually.
He said Pleasant Avenue, that's what made me
This, you're
remember.
talking about right here.
Right,
This
yes.
is, so there is a traffic signal. I'm so glad we put this photo in.
Mhm.
There is a traffic signal. It's really unfortunate people are using that.
No, there's no traffic signal on the corner I'm talking
Oh,
about.
really?
I was just there the other day.
117 and.
I think it's 117 and Pleasant.
Also before it makes the
But
turn.
before you go
That's right.
around the back of Wagner houses,
Oh, you're right.
right?
Oh,
But
you're
there's a
talking about
school on the
No, 117, there's.
northeast corner. There's a school and a park there. And then on the right, no, that's the southeast corner. The northeast corner is Wagner houses, right? The southeast corner. So you have that intersection, you have the park and the school, and then there's the drive.
I know exactly what you're talking about. You're talking about 120th.
Oh, is that what?
120, yeah.
It's like almost the last stop.
However,
Yeah.
it is still part
Right,
of
but it's
Yes,
still the
that
bus
cross
still
street,
goes that
right.
way, yeah.
That's something that we're really interested in because, you know, like you mentioned, you've got the playground on the east side. and
Right.
You've got the school on the west side, and you have so many people walking across, and it's a 60-foot wide corridor, and we're really hoping, you know, when we talk about priority youth injury areas, senior areas, these are the types of pedestrian, you know, insights that we're really hoping, but you know, a pedestrian has to cross all of this, and that's
Mhm.
just a lot of exposure to
Right.
vehicles, so thank you,
Yes.
we're gonna.
Mhm.
And does that have a delayed,
Yeah.
or what did you call it?
Well, it's a
LPI, a lead pedestrian interval.
It's a stop sign right now.
Yeah, it's a stop sign.
So therefore, it should not be a stop sign, especially for children and seniors.
You know, one thing that we do is, and we can talk to our construction crews, but raised crosswalks is like a speed bump built into a crosswalk. We can explore that. Those are great ways to physically just slow down the tenor,
Mhm.
especially around schools. Not sure if that's, you know, there's a lot of specifications around like water and how water interacts with those, but that's something that we could try to incorporate if possible.
Should I add on top of that too, in terms of which stop?
I just want to
control?
say that the person speaking right now is Jennifer.
Oh, yes, yeah, this is Jennifer something is DOT. Just to add to Luke's response for the particular stop control that's used at any intersection. There are certain warrants that they have to meet, but we have a different unit, we have many units at DOT, but the intersection control unit, ICU, can basically, you know, we can apply for them through this proposal and project to explore if the stop sign is still the appropriate stop control at that intersection.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Jewel Jones.
In terms of the bus lane camera enforcement, just to want to get a sense as to, you know, you say you have a DOT stationary cameras and cameras on the buses themselves. Like, so how's that enforced? What benefits from that? What do you do?
So we don't have those on the buses or on the streets yet. You know, we're still in this really preliminary phase. It takes a lot of coordination to put those up. Those on bus cameras are done by the MTA, and the MTA has its own kind of progress in terms of like how it prioritizes which buses get those. So no guarantees, but those benefit a lot of people. They benefit motorists from having a better anticipation of like how the road is organized. Pedestrians for ensuring that, you know, the bus lane isn't gonna have some passenger vehicle just zooming by. And it also, of course, supports bus riders, where, as Jamie mentioned, 24,000 people are using 116th Street daily. And additionally, when we can invest in the bus routes that we have, those improvements have trickle down effects. So the M3, M7, they're operating on other streets as well that might not have bus speeds, but if they're not getting bottlenecked on 116th Street, that means in other neighborhoods, their bus commutes are getting more predictable and reliable. So it has a lot of downstream effects.
Yeah, I'm not, so. In terms of the enforcement, so is this, people are being penal, what's the enforcement, people are being penalized, what's, I'm still not getting.
Yes, well, we have to folks here.
So when there is ACE on the route, and if, for example, there is a vehicle that's parked in a bus stop, then the ACE on bus is able to record that vehicle and then.
Give 'em a ticket.
And then. And then the driver of the stops allow the operator and the bus to access the curb safely and then board passengers safely. Thank you.
The information of how the people can stop with accessoride or with whatever they need to stop for a moment and then get out of the out of the car has not really gone forth. Is there any information to say that, yes, you can get out of the car by the curb? Because there are a lot of taxis, a lot of accessoride drivers that don't know this and are letting seniors out too far away from the curb, endangering them, which is not what we want. We want safety as a priority. So it is interesting to increase safety in one way, but increasing one way does not benefit all of our community.
I can add something to that, so the.
Mariah is speaking right now.
Sorry, hi, Mariah. I can add something to that, so the bus lanes are actually accessible to accessoride, so accessoride vehicles can use the bus lane. And often do to get to places more reliably and also can pull to the curb. In terms of like ACE-able enforcement and how that works, you actually have to be reported by multiple buses in order to receive a violation. So and those buses, I think, have to be like at least distance 5 minutes apart. So when we're talking about people being able to, you know, safely be able to use a curb space, you know, it's not something that is immediately restricted by a bus going past. It's really to capture vehicles that are blocking traffic and potentially creating safety issues for pedestrians and other motor vehiclists.
Thank you, Mariah. But my question was, how is that information being disseminated? Because a lot of people are like, just get out, and make people get out a lot faster than they should, which could increase their accident of falling. I mean, there's too many things that can happen when they're trying to speed up or being left out too far away from the curb. My thing is, how is that information of, it takes more than one bus? Has there been any sort of advertisements put up?
Well, that's something we could definitely take back to our government and community relations team, and then we can get back to you on that and how elections.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I will say that there's a 16.
I'm sorry, hold on a moment. Yes, Joe Jones?
Can I ask a follow-up? So in terms of accessorizing, that's under whose jurisdiction?
So that's under MTA, under paratransit.
Mhm.
And I just also want to add that, there's quite, we think, a substantial amount of scheduled trips to the 116th Street study area. There's about 2,000 scheduled trips recorded in October 2024. And then some of these trips are dedicated vehicles, and so they are allowed to use the bus lane.
And they're aware of this.
That-
I know that it's like, if you're saying, they're trying to get out or speed up or whatever, and they can actually stay in that bus lane or whatever, bus stop to have the passenger safely exit. Okay, so why are they, rushing people or do
Or not stopping at all.
they?
I'm
Yes,
sorry,
it's also something we could bring back to the paratransit people. Thank you.
thank you. Is that Carlos that has a question?
Carlos and
Yeah, I
Dawn.
have a question. It is regarding the meters that you have. At no time it was ever told that you can't put any coins in those meters. What do you do to accommodate the people who don't have credit cards? Because you've done it all the way across from, if I'm not mistaken, from First Avenue all the way to probably Park Avenue or Madison, that if you don't have a credit card, you can't use the meter, so you can't park your car there. And there are many people that go into the stores for like 2-3 minutes and run back out. I mean, before they know, they get a summons. So my question to you is, what are we doing to bring back, without you even telling us that you can't use any more money in that machine? And that machine shows that you could put in coins, and you guys somebody eliminated, and now they can't use the parking because they can't park the vehicles because they don't have a credit card. Where one time you were able to put, 3/4, 4/4 for 15 minutes, and you run in and out of the bank maybe, and when you come back, that seems to be a major problem. I want to see how you guys are going to address putting back the coin system.
Thank you, Carlos. Luke, you were gonna respond?
Yeah, we're gonna have to come back to you. I don't feel prepared to answer that question without talking to our parking unit yet. Not sure on the future plans for those specific meters. I know everything in these digital age are upgrading, but we will get back to you with a written response to that.
Thank
Can
you.
you also
Christine,
ask why?
hold on a second, Christine.
Why was it eliminated? We wasn't consulted. I'm just curious.
Okay, thank you, Carlos. Dawn Sanders? You have the floor.
Thank you so much. I would like to know if you guys have ever considered giving us feedback on previous projects, because it seems, and I don't know if you've studied DOT's effect on traffic, but it seems like when you remove lanes, it slows when you remove traffic lanes and add bike and bus lanes, it slows traffic down and increases congestion. And like Michelle said, people don't have a place that they can get out of a vehicle. Like, so that's like in front of, well, I don't know what it's called. Schomburg Houses has a no standing completely around there. So you technically can't drop anybody off anywhere in front of Schomburg, and it hasn't been fixed. But anyway, the point is that, we were given these same metrics in the 2010s about asthma, and I would love to know, since we've lost more than half our parking and we've given up several lanes, and have you moved the needle at all in terms of the health indicators that you keep talking about since all of this change has been happening? Or are these just hypothetical improvements, or do you have any proof that removing lanes has changed things? And so that's my question. And my other thing I want to just point out is that, as far as I know, the people who were killed on Pleasant were killed by trucks. And have you thought about the fact that trucks can come through our neighborhood and park for days and days on the street and do whatever they want? Do you ever think about maybe you shouldn't have trucks allowed in highly residential areas, or is that just for Madison Avenue? Or, how do you make a determination? So, and then one thing I just want to point out, and I'm sorry, but my first question is, do you actually do anything that helps the community? You said 65,000 people and you had 6 Bronx Express stops. I don't even think they stop. I think one of those express stops in East Harlem. So I would like to know, of those 65,000, yeah, thank you. I'm sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 stops. Do those, I don't think they even stop in our neighborhood. So why is that part of the study, those Bronx Express buses? I know one stops in front of Taino. I don't know that these stop in the neighborhood. Okay, so out of those 3, my most important question is, what happened to all the changes that were supposed to happen over the last 10 years with asthma and congestion and, all that good stuff that we were promised?
Okay, thank you, Don. I know those were a lot of questions. I see Jenny. Jamie, I'm sorry.
No worries.
You look like you were going to respond to one of these questions?
Yeah, the third question in regards to the Bronx to Manhattan Express buses, yes, you're correct. They don't stop in the neighborhood. They just go through the neighborhood via 116th Street to make their way midtown. But we wanted to count those on-bus riders who do utilize the corridor to get to where they need to go. So that's why it was added onto the total ridership.
Yes, a lot of low income and Black and brown communities have interstates, highways built into them, I found out recently. And that has been historically proven, unfortunately. What I'm concerned about is our community and our constituents, not necessarily people that are just going through. Could you hold on a moment, please? I'm sorry, we're just going to continue with the questions from the board, and then we will go to questions outside of the board, okay?
I will add that the 65,000 daily passengers.
Mariah, the one who's talking now?
I'm so sorry. Again, Mariah. I will add that the 65,000 daily passengers, it seems like a large number, and by numbers, it seems like there's more express bus routes than local bus routes. But express bus routes tend to have a lot lower ridership, so I think, I'm looking at some of the numbers here. Over 50,000 of these riders are actually local, from the local bus routes. So even though it's the same number of routes, those routes are mighty and they carry quite a lot of people who are getting on and off at the corridor.
I think if you would stop some of those express bus and let some of us on, we would be appreciative, because a lot of people need to get downtown or midtown quickly. So those buses going through and not stopping doesn't really help us. But thank you for explaining.
No, yeah, thank you.
Okay, so I'm just going to add surveys that were done by my vice chair, who has lived in this area of 116th Street and works in 116th Street and has been part of 116th Street most of his life. A lot of the business owners are very hesitant on having a bus lane in the neighborhood due to a lot of very small mom and pop stores, as well as what they have already seen on 96th Street and 126th Street. On 126th Street right now, there's a lot of very huge mega businesses that are present that have not been there before, but they can afford to have that space and they can afford to be there now. While before there were very small stores and the flavor, I don't go to 125th Street that often anymore. It's too congested. I have gone to 116th Street, where I do take the bus, where I do walk, where I do find the smaller stores that I want. This is part of our community. This is the flavor of our community. We have right now I'm gonna repeat it, the lead pedestrian interval that we really wanted because that does increase safety. However, putting a bus lane where there is going to be a slowdown in traffic and an increase in asthma, because the traffic is slowed down, there's a lot of idling that would be happening. How would that really help us? At this point, it just seems like it would hinder us further instead of helping us.
That's an excellent question, and it's one that we really take seriously. But I will say that what we're really hoping to achieve is a better organized road. So when we put in a bus lane, it's not like these buses aren't being there. These are allowing for these local buses, which people use to get to their local businesses, get to their destinations faster. People use the M116 to get to the East River Plaza for groceries, as we've seen on a picture here. These buses are using the road right now, and I've been there at the peak PM hour, 5, 6 PM, and without any bus lane enforcement, people double park so much that you just can't get through. There's so much double parking, there's so much congestion, and part of this is because the businesses are thriving, that people want to get access to the curb, but because of how the parking meters are set up and how the street regulations are set up, it's not allowing the benefit of being able to have more circulation. And when we see more circulation, you're gonna see less idling. These buses are already using the corridor. And what this also does in terms of safety is help kind of alleviate the sense that a lot of people have that when there's 2 lanes, people will try to cut around. And this is why a lot of crashes happen, because they're cutting around, weaving precariously just to get a little bit ahead, And when we can organize that, we actually see a calmer street environment. And
Wait, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Anytime I hear these buzzwords of calmer and all that, those words just are like,
nails in a chalkboard.
yeah, because if those are like the buzzwords to like, oh, that's better, I'm so sorry, so I'm just like, my skin just went crawling. I know you heard what I said. Wasn't a question, was a statement. A statement from the business owners. So I just wanted to make sure that you heard what the business owners in the area feel. The business owners on 96th Street are not as many, but they are losing business so much at this particular point that they are furious. Don't want the same thing to happen on 116th Street. It's too lively and it's too important in our neighborhood. Jill Jones?
Yeah, before we leave the topic of, in terms of our, health and within East Harlem, on page 14, in your second bullet point, you both do respect, how are these, what type of fuel are buses run on? What are they running? Thank you.
Then hold to any of y'all.
And what's a more optimal type of way for a bus to operate?
Are you talking about electric buses, the expansion of the electric buses?
So currently buses run on what type of fuel?
So they're not typically 100% electric. I know that. I know there are in other areas in New York, upstate New York. I've seen that, but what are they in our neighborhood?
I think
Is diesel?
Diesel here, we're expanding our electric fleet. We have electric buses in New York City.
So quick question, I'm sorry, I live right across the street from a depot, the one on 100th Street.
Yeah.
And most of those buses that come out of there blowing black smoke.
Yeah,
That's that diesel fuel, right? And then they sit and they idle. For, yeah, sometimes hours. I have to walk over and ask them to shut the buses off, you know, they don't, but I still ask, you know, and this traffic here. You keep saying you're fixing it, you're gonna make it better, but we've already slowed down Third Avenue. Traffic is horrendous on Third Avenue. The idling, the congestion,
Christina, we're gonna get to Third Avenue,
Yeah.
but that.
but it leads right into 116. And that intersection gets really jammed up at this time of night.
I'm sorry, I just, Joe.
So in terms of bullet point number 2, that makes absolutely no sense. In terms of, increased transit, because the increased bus transit, increased diesel fuel, increase what Christina's saying, so that makes absolutely no sense. You may want to reword that whole bullet point there. Increased transit can contribute to improved air quality. I don't see how that's.
Do you mean increased rate of transit? Is that what, isn't it in this terminology here?
If I may, do you mind if I can explain?
I just wanna make sure that she's finished her question.
Yeah, so, in terms of air quality, because bottom line, buses run on this type of fuel, where we all said is diesel, the ideal would be electric. So any increase in any kind of trans, I don't care if it's a bus, car, I don't care what it is, that's not going to improve anyone's air quality. Right, yeah.
Okay, yes.
So, when we talk about increased transit, we're talking about increased reliability. And using transit more than a passenger vehicle. So if you've got a bus that fits 50 people in it, those 50 people, if let's say the bus is really unreliable, a lot of those 50 people might turn to other modes. And if they're all turning to cars, that's 50 cars. And those 50 cars, which might vary in size, may range from a couple thousand pounds to 4,000 pounds, 5,000 pounds. And we're talking about, all of those thousands of pounds, that is actually a larger amount of pollution. So if we can consolidate in transit, we actually, even though they're using diesel, but as Mariah rightly pointed out, the MTA is transitioning to hydrogen buses, to electric buses. If we can, increase the reliability of transit, make it an attractive option, we can actually reduce the amount of the need for all those private vehicles on the road. And that is where those benefits come in.
Respectfully, read it. No, thank you, sir.
I'm sorry, hold on, Christina. Pascal has not responded this evening.
Yeah, I just have a couple of questions.
Go ahead.
Yes, to go back to her point about the commercial businesses, have you all put together a plan to do like targeted outreach to the businesses on 116? If so, can you share what it is?
Sure. So this is our public engagement unit. They do really in-depth analysis, door-to-door outreach through merchant surveys. That's something that we can put together. Typically, those types of surveys include asking businesses, how do customers typically get to the business? How do the business owners get to the business? What are the hours that they need truck deliveries? And that informs if we're trying to propose any curb regulation changes to favor some of those truck deliveries. But those are things that our public engagement unit can deploy, and that's the type of feedback and information that they give us.
And if I may add to that, this is Jennifer. So Raphael and I can keep the board posted when this team goes out there called the Street Ambassadors. And they'll do the survey in English, Spanish, any other requested, suggested languages, as well, so we can at least let the board know when we're.
Thank you for
I would
that.
definitely like that, because our vice chair has gone out and asked the businesses in that area. And that's the information that I was bringing up earlier.
Then my other question was something that Dawn touched on, congestion. Usually it happens once you see a bus lane go into effect on certain streets, there's a backup because one lane is not reduced. But in addition to 116th, what about the adjacent blocks? Are we looking at that? So like 117, 115, is there any study? Are you looking at what the effects of that bus lane will do to the adjacent blocks and in terms of like increased traffic?
That's something that we are currently looking at through our traffic analysis. We've hired a consultant to help us comb through all of this data. We've done traffic counts and pedestrian counts to help us kind of put together a model of, the existing lane uses, the existing amount of parking maneuvers, the existing rate of double parking, and all of that kind of goes into this algorithm that allows us to tell if we repurpose one travel lane into a bus lane, removing all those buses from that other travel lane, that this will be the amount of change in terms of traffic. And how we might mitigate that through changing and incrementally improving the signal timing, so that if we see, if we put a bus lane here, there's going to be 5 more seconds of congestion, we can try to alleviate that through the network. And we've got some brilliant signals engineers that are able to correspond and at parallel intersections tweak things so that we can see reduction in congestion.
Okay. And were there like any alternative solutions that you thought of before thinking about this bus lane? So like more enforcement, or like one issue you mentioned was like vehicles parking in bus stops. Did you think about extending like the curb so that it comes out further? I think you had it in your presentation, but it didn't look like an actual concrete extension. It looked like
It was like a rubber.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we've done an initial walkthrough with our concrete crews and analyzed some bus bulbs and concrete extensions. What's challenging with 116th Street is that it's pretty flat. So what we've found is that where that curb will come out, it'll create a ponding condition. And as we know, in the summertime, if we have ponding conditions for more than 24 hours, that is going to bring mosquitoes. And so from a public health point of view, we're not allowed to create ponding conditions. So those rubberized bus borders help to alleviate that because the water can flow behind it. But absent a larger capital project, we aren't able to put in those concrete things. But the thing is, with a project like this, if you are interested in capital improvements, such as expanded sidewalks, this is often a precursor to further investment. So that's something to keep in mind if expanded sidewalks, especially in some of these areas where, as you've mentioned, commercial activity is high, the sidewalks are very narrow. So if expanded sidewalks is something that you're interested in, this might be something to consider as arguing for future investment.
we have 2 more questions. Another thing is, will the bus lane be full-time or part-time? That's a big thing for me. I don't think it makes sense for a bus lane to be 24 hours, especially since we know 116, at least on the east side, is a big commercial corridor, and those businesses do close. So I don't know how far along you are in your plans. Have you considered this?
Yeah, that's a common question that comes up. And typically what happens is we try to have them be 24 hours. And that's because when we find that if we remove the bus lanes or don't allow them in the overnights, you're actually creating a speed condition. So where the bus lane kind of organizes the roadway and designates areas for passenger vehicles to go, at night when there are a lot fewer vehicles, we open that up. we potentially allow for more speeding, for, this feeling like, oh, the roadway's all mine, and I can just go as fast as I can. And a lot of the crashes that happen on 116th Street are due to limited visibility, are due to people cutting and swerving around. And so pedestrian safety and motor vehicle safety is something that we're considering, especially in overnight hours, where there's just a general reduction in volume. So keeping some of the organization of the roadway can help benefit all road users in the evening hours.
So in other words, you're saying no.
I'm not saying no, I'm just explaining why in so many other projects, we've really fought for the safety benefits of having these.
And I'll just, this is Dustin speaking, we don't have a bus lane proposal yet, but this should start going through our planning process, but, when we come back to you, that's when we'll sort of have more touched up.
It's just that every neighborhood is different. And this particular stretch, I'm not saying all the way to the west, I'm just saying in East Harlem, it's a lot of small businesses where people are like, oh, I just wanna get up and take this up. And as Carlos was saying, it is like 15 minutes, 10 minutes. They get what they want, they get back in, either the car, on the scooter, in the bus, and it's just quick. That is how we are, unless we're going to a restaurant and we're sitting down and we're hanging out. That's what we need. But we need to be able to get around. If we have this huge 24/7 dedicated bus lane, it's sort of it's just there all the time. Having a way to navigate it might make it an easier swallow. Yes, Khalid, you have.
You have to ask Carlos Sander, just like why.
Who had theirs first, and I don't think Pascal.
I got
has
one more.
finished.
Sorry. So parking, it's a big, I guess not questions, maybe just some feedbacks on the take. Parking is an issue. It remains an issue. I think it's an even bigger issue now with congestion pricing, but that's another thing. I do not think that the curve bus lanes will work. Anything that would take away parking away from my neighborhood just does not work. So that's just my feedback.
Thank you. John?
I have a question. Could you talk a little bit about when you make that turn on 116th Street, that bus got to go 4 lanes before it makes that left. How are you addressing that? So when you're on 3rd Avenue, I don't know what the name of that bus, but it turns on 116th Street.
And
you gotta go
102.
4 lanes before you get into the next to last lane to make the turn on 116th Street. How are we addressing that?
That's the M102, right?
Right.
102, from Lexington, sorry, from Third
From
Avenue.
3rd Avenue and going towards Lexington. They gotta go 4
Yes.
lanes, the bus, and then they gotta make that turn.
Mhm.
And that's where a lot of the accidents occur.
Yeah, so just to confirm, northbound M102 as it goes up Third Avenue and it makes the left.
It makes a left
turn
turn up.
116.
On 116, yes, that's its route.
So it's
that's
gotta
where
go
a lot-
4 lanes and then you make that turn. And that's where many of the accidents occur because they can't see that bus. Sometimes they go so fast because they want to make the 3 lanes and then they make that quick turn. And that's where you get a lot of traffic being stalled. And so if you could address how you're going to work that out, I mean, that'll be interesting.
Yeah, we'll definitely make a note of that and look into that further.
Yeah, and
And that leads into the other project that we will be discussing in old business. Maybe you should stay for.
that's something that, that's something where the Third Avenue project managers will have to coordinate with them to see how we can, and of course with the MTA to see how we can better accommodate that turn. Thank you for bringing that up.
And Don?
Thanks. I hope you guys do start to coordinate, because I mean, my understanding is people go to school for transportation planning and they talk to other people who are also doing disruptive things, and they figure out how all those disruptions come together and what the overall impacts will be. And I would love to see the city start doing that, thinking a little bit more cohesively. But my question, I guess, goes back to my first question. Have you guys moved the needle at all in terms of asthma and congestion since, I think, 2011, when you took out most of the parking and put in bus lanes and bike lanes on First and Second Avenue? Are people breathing easier now, or do you guys have any data on that? Because I would really like you to start collecting that data if you're going to keep presenting it in these presentations. So did asthma shift at all? Did we get healthier? I mean, I know the answer, right? But I'm just wondering if you guys plan to track that or show us that this is helping at all.
Don, look on page, oh, you put up page 14.
So here we go.
Don, take a look on the top, asthma hospitalizations due to ozone 2017 to 2019.
They're going up, right?
So we don't have the statistics ready tonight to show you the view from 2011. That's something that we can get back to you on. But I hear you loud and clear. This is a lot of times the concern with replacing car lanes with other modes, such as bikes and buses. But we can try to connect with the Department of Health and see if they have a thing. You know, there's a lot of different factors when it comes to asthma rates, besides bus lanes and bike lanes, but that's something that we're really attentive to and we'd like to address.
Yeah, I think you should start taking that out of your presentations, because it really is just disrespectful at this point. I know a dim is not there, but if I raise up my window on First Avenue overnight, it's going to be black in the morning. And I think a dim had the same issue. It's still the same. If you open up your window and you're on First Avenue, your windowsill will be black. So I would love for you to bring back something showing our neighborhood getting a little lighter in those dark blue areas. I would love to see that happen. And if not, that's cool. Just take that out of the presentations as if, you know, we're being selfish because we're not letting you do these things that are going to make us healthier. If they're not making us healthier, stop pointing to them, I guess. That's what I'm saying.
Thank you, Don. No, no? No. Okay. Yeah. Yes. Luke is speaking.
A lot of questions tonight around curb access to our businesses. You know, things that I've heard is that a lot of times the curb access that's needed for our small businesses is short-term access for 5 minutes, 10 minutes. One thing that we're really attentive to is the ways in which we can try to accommodate better curb management to meet the needs of the neighborhood. So if you've got a stretch of very active commercial businesses, you know, maybe alternate side parking isn't, at least during those business hours, isn't the right thing. So that's just why, as Pascal mentioned, trying to get a merchant input as to like, when do you need more turnover? You know, well, 15-minute parking, is that something that's going to be able to help that business turnover? Double parking, we understand that it happens, but at the expense of a whole travel lane is sometimes challenging. So are there ways in which we can adjust and look at the curb regulations to meet the needs of the neighborhoods? That's what we're looking at. And I'll just say one other thing is that through our bus stop spacing analysis, there are opportunities to increase parking. So that hopefully will try to address some of those issues.
Christina, just a second. Also, just increasing the amount of buses that are on the street. When you have just one or two buses and you're waiting for 45 minutes, sometimes an hour for a bus, it's 125th Street. It makes no sense because then you are waiting so long, the bus comes and it's completely filled. That adds to frustration. And then there are two buses that come on at the same time. Having regular buses come would make sense. Christina.
Okay, you said that, you're looking at increasing parking, on that corridor. I've noticed that on Third Avenue, right, we had these meters and the meters were always pretty reasonable for parking. They're starting to install new meters and they're raising the prices on them. There are meters on 116th Street. Will you guys be installing new meters and raising the prices on them? And if you are you going to also do outreach to the neighborhood before you install them to let people know that you are now raising the price of parking in the neighborhood?
So, meter rates, are handled separately. I think they're handled on a citywide basis. Of course, through this project, we won't be specifically raising meter prices. That's something that we can get back to you.
Is there
But-
any way you could eliminate the meters? And do alternate side of the street parking? On 116.
The meters are privatized.
No, but the money goes to the city.
They want to increase the price regularly.
The price was already increased.
No, I know, but if you eliminate it completely, you'll have a better, you could park your vehicle there. People don't have to go crazy running back and forth from the meters. Cause that seems to be one of the problems. They gotta run back to the meter and they're going between the cars and that's where the accident occurs.
Thank you, Carlos and Don. And I think there are many heads nodding that it sounds like a very good idea. Which makes sense. If you're going to only run out for 10 minutes, you'll spend more like 5 or 7 minutes trying to get the change or look for the money to, it doesn't make any sense. You're just there for a short time. Are we good? Yes, Pascal.
When will you have the design for this project?
So right now, we're looking at, the traffic analysis of the current condition, and we're calibrating our model to make sure that we have it accurate. We don't have a set date for when we're gonna come back, with any kind of further presentation. We're hoping this spring, because a lot of any implementation is dependent on the warm weather, when we can install paint. So I defer to Jennifer on timeline.
So this is Jennifer. I will just add that since this is a corridor-wide project between community boards 9, 10, and 11. We will plan to do the design proposal presentation the same month for all 3 boards. So, we won't be ready next month, but we might have something to share in 2 months. So that's something that Raphael and I will keep each of the boards present.
You had mentioned that there was a flat, because 116th is flat and you did not want to increase water pooling. Have you done an environmental study on this area? Besides the flatness of the ground?
So
What
the,
impact would it have?
yeah, we did a constructability check, for potential concrete curb extensions. And it's not to say that there aren't any locations, but just something that we've initially noticed is that it's very flat, and it precludes a lot of locations. But in places where there is enough pitch to allow the water runoff, there is a potential. But when it comes to environmental analysis, that's a lot of what our traffic analysis is doing to see, what will be the congestion rates. And so that's something that we will be coming back to you when it comes to, we take this really seriously. And we're gonna be analyzing the traffic, and with that comes, how much slowdown will there be for motor vehicles?
Meters. what are you, I mean, I know that you had spoken about. Wait. Ask the question.
So, so, so when you talk about the environmental impact, you know, and I heard you just say, but you know, so people are out there, do they actually have meters that actually, you know, looking at the level of, you know, toxins and stuff like that in the air in terms of environmental impact? Do you go that far?
So our traffic analysis is typically based on, we work with contractors where they put up a camera at several locations throughout the corridor, and it just captures car movements and pedestrian movements. And our contractors will sit down and watch all the footage and say, one car crossed, one car crossed, one car crossed, which is, I gotta hand it to them. That's a tough job. But another way we do the analysis is it's called an ATR, where we run a sensor across the entire street, and cars pass over it, and we have a way to detect. It's like a pneumatic tube that sends computerized signals saying, here's how many cars are passing. And between those two, we're able to get a really good picture of the traffic analysis. We'd love to work with the Department of Environmental Protection around air quality. You know, as I mentioned, we do have a really robust partnership with the Parks Department, and we're looking at opportunities to provide street trees, which of course reduce toxins in the air. And if there are areas specifically that you guys are interested in trees, we've been looking at some areas. You know, sometimes it's kind of limited, as you know, the pedestrian activity is very thorough across 116th Street, and sometimes, you know, a tree location might start to impinge on business or pedestrian circulation. So we have to be really mindful that we're not constraining the pedestrian environment more, because people with wheelchairs have to be able to go through. And if we're reducing the sidewalk width to a 5-foot passable area, that might be a challenge in terms of ADA. And we don't want to create an environment where people are walking onto the tree pit, potentially damaging and compacting the roots. So there's a lot of things to consider, but we'd love to partner with DEP to take more of an analysis like that.
Christina?
I don't know who it is, it might be the EPA. They do a air quality analysis. I really think that should be done, especially as Dawn said, you have this asthma thing in here. I am a person with asthma, I suffer with mild to severe asthma. And it gets really tough to breathe sometimes. And then in talking about those trees are great to put up, but if nobody's taking care of them, they just become dead wood on the sidewalks. So that's also something else to consider. If you guys are gonna be putting up trees, somebody needs to be taking care of them.
I should note that one other piece of our toolkit are planters. And we install planters, but we have to make sure that we have a maintenance partner so that they're maintained. You know, we noticed that there are several community gardens on Pleasant Avenue and throughout the neighborhood. So if there are stakeholders that you think might be interested, it doesn't have to be a community garden, in maintaining a planter. That's something that we can incorporate and communicate with them, because I totally hear you, especially in these hot summer months. Those trees, sometimes it seems like they scream out, I need some water. So, yeah.
Okay, any other further questions online?
None online.
Any other burning questions? Board?
I think I'm good.
Okay, I'm sorry, I do not remember your name, person in the PINK hat. You had a question earlier?
No, I'm good, thank you.
Okay. So with this, let me just make sure that there are no more questions. Okay. So I have to look at all these different things. Yeah,
Sorry, I did have a question.
say your name, please.
The name is Thomas Proctor, happen to live on 116th Street. when talking about the short-term parking, I guess first clarifications, would that be metered parking? And I guess the second question, I know you said you hadn't done the business outreach yet, but I'm wondering if you could talk about in general how businesses would generally respond to short-term parking.
Short-term parking, that's a great question on metering. I believe it is a metered situation. And typically we see positive results. You know, a lot of times business owners, they understand that their customers are only trying to, you know, stop by for a small amount of time. So a lot of people favor it. Sometimes when we don't have short-term parking and we have like long interval parking, it causes double parking, which causes traffic congestion, which causes honking, which causes annoyance. So business owners are pretty understanding of their customers' needs, and we find that short-term parking is pretty popular.
But it would not be for the long period of time, it would just be for.
Right, exactly.
certain
Only,
business hours,
yeah, exactly.
the highest business hours,
Right.
which would happen during a survey.
Yes.
Yeah,
There were two questions though that he had asked.
I
That's when it's been, whether or not it is metered. Believe he answered that.
You
Yes,
answered it?
yes.
Okay. Yes, Justin?
yeah, I just wanted to, you know, kind of add to that. I know there was expressed interest from the committee about, you know, ASP. I just want to add one of the downsides.
Please repeat what ASP is again?
Alternate side parking, if you're getting rid of the meters to have alternate side parking. One of the trade-offs of having that is, you know, people for ASP, curb regulation, people just tend to leave the car all for multiple days up until street cleaning. So usually what ends up happening on streets with ASP regulations is that there's less parking available for everyone. Because the few select cars that are able to kind of spot just leave it there. So you'll end up having more congestion usually on the corridor because people are cycling around trying to find parking, and then they're double parking and blocking lanes. So while it does sound, you know, sort of enticing to get rid of the meters, that is one of the unfortunate trade-offs that might happen on the corridor with a lot of parking.
Thank you, Pascal?
Just a follow-up to that, would you then consider just put alternate side parking at the bus stops where you plan to probably remove a stop, just to like make it?
Potentially, depends on the adjacent land use. So if the adjacent land use is a bustling business, we might try to consider something from our parking toolkit. But of course, like, we wouldn't be installing a 15-meter parking like overnight. So overnight, you know, we want to accommodate the needs of people to find storage for their cars. So ASP could be would be applicable in the overnight hours, but maybe it just depends on where exactly.
Just a second, Christina. The toolkit of the crosswalk in the middle of the block on 116th Street, that might work.
This one?
The mid-block.
The mid-block, the mid-cross. It's not flowing off my
Island in the middle.
Not an island, not an island, it's a crosswalk in the middle
Oh,
of the
that
block.
one down here.
Okay,
Can I ask if you have any recommendations on where?
I cannot right now, because I'm hungry and I don't want to push it to the back too much.
Well, that's the kind of suggestion that we'd really like your input on, as you guys are the experts in your community, seeing this on a daily basis, using the corridor. Let us know where you think a mid-block crossing is.
I want to put it where there's most jaywalkers. And therefore they won't be jaywalking into moving traffic. There will be a safer.
It's literally every block.
I know, that's why I'm like, you know, I'm trying to think of which is the most of all of them.
Next and second, I would say.
No.
That's the busiest.
You guys should definitely consider the queue jump. What is it? The queue
Jump signals.
Thank you. For the Park Avenue intersection, it might be really narrow, so maybe let the buses go through first. But because of the construction, I don't know, I can't tell, but maybe consider that around there.
I couldn't remember that whole term there, I just wrote.
And something, you know, you mentioned construction, we're really mindful that you've got the Park Avenue Viaduct and the Second Avenue Subway. So, you know, because there's gonna be some more construction going, we are kind of like, kind of in, a pattern where we're just looking and seeing and, trying to accommodate those projects, so. But yeah, that's a great suggestion. Sure.
Okay, and on that,
Nobody else has.
oh, sure, okay, thank you, I was like, no, no. On that note, Christina, yes.
Thank you. I just had an idea, right? You said something, I don't remember what it was, but it triggered something in my head. So I've seen in neighborhoods outside of this city where they do overnight street cleaning. Is it possible that 1/16th corridor could be like an overnight street cleaning, which would eliminate that, alternate side timing?
So I hear you, and I think that's a great idea, but I think that also might come with some trade-offs, you know, if you're talking about you have to move your car off the curb at 2 AM.
Right.
Well, I don't know about you, but I'm not gonna get out at 2 AM, you know, that's gonna be pretty challenging to convince me to do that. But you have a point, you know, when the streets are less used.
Right.
Seeing if we can use those times.
Yeah, cause and most street cleaning, I think around here is usually between the hours of, say, 10 and 1:30. And that's like a high point during in the neighborhood.
Right.
Where the schools are out, I mean, people going to work, people are shopping, people getting out early in the day, so it's just an idea.
And that's something that we can take back, you know, we work, Jennifer and Rafael work really closely with DSNY and we can see if there's a better adjustment. You know, we've heard that on some of our pre-meetings, with you guys, that the signage for street cleaning isn't necessarily reflective of when they actually show up. And so maybe we can talk to DSNY about that more.
And find out specifically when they actually.
Exactly.
You can feel free to make suggestions, even if they're not here.
Thank you.
I definitely will kind of bring it up to their attention.
I will bring that up with our vice chair who has connections with all the businesses on 116th Street.
Can I just ask one follow-up question? I think Christine, you mentioned the 100th Street Depot, where they idle. Is that 100th Street? That's the name of it.
It's called 100, it's called the Bus Depot.
Yeah.
That's something that we can bring back and work with the MTA on, because they're really attentive to, they've addressed those concerns and we want to take those seriously. Thank you for.
Well, since we're talking about that, I would like to have that bus stop moved.
Yeah, well, that's not.
I know, but it's set so this is
That would
the
be
issue.
actually in the bus, actually in their depot, instead of having their buses outside. on
That's not the
street,
issue. That's not the issue.
Idling.
Across the street from the depot, we have an active driveway. And they park and block a driveway all the time and they sit there and they idle for hours.
May I get the specific intersection?
99th Street and Lexington Avenue.
They also idle on Park Avenue as well.
Yes, they sit on Park Avenue between 99th and 98th Street and idle for hours.
Yes.
And I've complained multiple
So what
times
we're
and
going
nothing has
to
happened.
make sure that is written and given to you. Please give us, I'm speaking right now to Jamie. Please give us your email so that we can send that information to you, because that is something that is an ongoing problem. So,
I also have a follow-up question from Jewel. I know that you mentioned.
Jewel.
Oh, Jewel, I'm sorry about that. I noticed that you mentioned that some accessorized vehicles can't make it to the curb on 116th Street. Okay, can you tell us what those locations are, or so we could further look into them?
I do not have the specific locations, it's just that they feel that they can't, and so they just don't.
Oh.
So the information to get to disseminate information to those people that are driving the cars that have seniors in them, so they don't rush them out of the cars. Prevent falling. All right. Thank you. So it's not any specific spot. Based on that, let us conclude this very vibrant conversation. And we will get back to you as well as you will get back to us. We'll move on to the next item on the agenda. Please don't leave. Thank you.
Well, Raphael are definitely gonna stay.
Madam Chair, before they leave, could we take advantage of talking about 122nd, 123rd, 3rd Avenue? Where the bus stop, we've asked them to move it from 120th back to 122nd, 123rd?
See the response on that.
We've already received a response on that. That was part of our homework to read.
Response. Hold on a second.
And isn't that what we're talking about right now?
I was talking about the M116 bus stop that we asked for them to relocate.
Oh, so you're going back into the old business right now, Carlos?
I don't know. I don't know where you want to put it, but I know they may want to leave, but maybe we could take advantage of them, you know, maybe they could answer the question they could move that for us.
They couldn't, so.
Right, it was responded to already.
Right.
I don't have the exact wording, just the bus stop with 123.
Right, so Alberto Rodon from the TA.
Right.
Our operations planning team reviewed this request, and due to the ongoing traffic conditions on Third Ave, we cannot restore the stop to its original location. Vehicles travel on Third Ave to get to RFK Bridge via 124th Street, causing the travel lane on the right to be backed up with traffic, especially during the PM rush. This made getting in and out of the bus stop challenging and was the main reason as to why the stop was relocated. And if we need more information from them, we can reach out further.
I'm confused. Are we talking about the same stop that we have asked for a request of moving it?
Yes, this is the direct response to the requests regarding relocating that stop. They are not able to remove it because they determined that there were a lot of traffic, or at least difficult traffic conditions, and that's why they previously moved it.
How do we work with the seniors or with the Borinquen Healthcare Center where seniors gotta walk 2.5 blocks to get to see their doctor? That was there for over 20 years and it was moved without consulting anybody. And we thought they were gonna put it back and they never did. So, you know, I don't understand why all of a sudden you could eliminate it and not put it back without consulting the community. So maybe.
Can we scroll to the map so we have a better sense of where?
This Third Avenue.
Oh, it's not.
Yeah, Third Avenue.
It's the which is not all realm.
It's Third Avenue on 119, 120th Street on the east side. The bus stop used to be in front of Taino Towers, which is the 123rd and 122nd. It was removed. Never told the community that they moved it up to 119, 120th. We have asking to put it back, and we want to know. That response is not what we were looking for. We were actually looking to accommodate the community and accommodate the seniors. And if you talk about how involvement you want to be with the seniors, but yeah, you're keeping a bus there with you got to walk. Yes. I'm sorry. Yeah. Yes.
This has been brought up and it is a serious problem. The head of the Borinquen community came to us saying that there are seniors that need a space to not have to walk 2 whole blocks, which for a young person, 2 blocks is nothing. For a senior, 2 blocks is too much.
That is correct.
Asking for something that, in this case, to help for the safety of our seniors, because, oh, it's congested, does not make any sense. This is the safety of our community, of our constituents, of our seniors, and they deserve it.
So we can direct, I don't know Jamie and Dustin can help us with that, but we can redirect that inquiry to our actual MTA liaison,
Right.
Alberto, and Ruby.
So I was more so saying that for the record,
Okay,
in these small.
okay, Carlos, so we'll follow up on that item for you, okay?
Appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
And if y'all can do anything about that, totally appreciate it. All right. So our next thing is old business. The DOT's proposed street redesign of Third Avenue between 96th and 128th Street.
If I may add to that, this is not the unit that is responsible
I
for
know,
that particular.
I know.
So,
Thank you, Rena.
and the fact is that that will be covered later on. Unless you want to bring it up.
It is
It's on the agenda.
It's
on the agenda. The next part, right now. And so based on what we have right now, we did not get any further information, any further detailed information in response to what we had proposed. And we were asked if we wanted to have like a letter of support or anything like that, and so being that we did not get that information, at this point, I would like to raise a motion so that we would not agree to the redesign of this Third Avenue.
Sorry, just a quick one. Were you guys asking for a letter of support or just a letter in general stating the community's concerns regarding the project?
This formal response.
Yeah, more the latter. And so this is Jennifer speaking. Michelle, I spoke to Angel about it. I know we've had some other emails back and forth, some conversations, but, you know, following our presentation a couple of months ago, we'd really like to, you know, have a formal response from the committee and the board laying out at least some of the partial, you know, concerns that you brought up during the committee meeting. The team is working to develop the proposal and looking through the traffic analysis now. I know there was the request for block to block analysis, which I think we'll continue to talk about and on how we can share information with the board.
Yes, there
because
was,
it is a reasonable
there was a
request.
request before we agree to
Understood.
to support something.
Yeah.
We want to know what we're supporting.
Fair.
And so that's why I asked
Mhm.
repetitively, I need info. Cause what we scratch that, what we asked
Right.
was not responded to. We need the response. We did not get the response. And we don't want to write, I personally would not want to put my name on something without knowing what I'm putting my name on.
I will say that I think, you know, it's kind of like a chicken and an egg situation at this point too, because it would be, and you know, and I'm coming to you as, you know, the agency that presented or that came twice to the committee, one to do an existing conditions presentation as we did for 116th Street tonight, but then also we returned with the design proposal. So I think, you know, like the formal comments could have been, and this is just a recommendation, I do want to keep, you know, talking about how we can continue to share information. You know, here are the problematic areas of concern adjacent to the police precincts, FDNY, the mosque that we talked about. And then, you know, the repeated request for additional information on the parking lots. So I just don't want to hold back the team. I also don't want to hold back the committee. So let's keep on talking about how we can share more information.
See, I was more so into sharing more information and the questions have been placed in our minutes. What we discussed.
So putting that correspondence on letterhead, so the committee agreeing with these are the points we want to address with DOT, put this in a letter correspondence format, let's agree to send a vote on it and send it and then send it to DOT. So it doesn't have to be a letter of support or not support. These are the committee's concerns. These are our questions. These are our requests. Sign CB11M.
And we'll take as many letters.
That I would understand more so, but when you change it to a letter of support, then I was just like.
Oh, no, and that's.
It's in the form of-
And that's why I was ready to take a motion, I was like, absolutely
Yeah.
not.
You have provided us with a list of concerns, and you have sent it to me. And this is something that I have mentioned to you to put it in a formal format. Or like
okay.
you just suggested, and that will allow us to really look at it and do.
Okay, so you're changing it from a letter of support to our suggestions.
Well, we always,
Then I can understand that.
yeah. And if, you know, and then we can.
And our suggestions. Our suggestions are very detailed. And we would prefer you to answer back in detail to our response,
We
to our
will
questions,
respond to the letter, yeah.
okay?
Yeah.
Valerie,
Look, when they cut the ribbon on 96th Street for what they did on 96th Street, they didn't tell us about it. I don't believe what they're saying. So I have these.
thank you, Valerie. I appreciate your response. You heard her, right?
I did. I will add, you know, just kind of like our existing conditions presentations that we've given for Third Avenue and 116th tonight. That was in response directly to CB11 for DOT attending community board meetings and just presenting the proposal outright. So we want to try to continue to be more responsive and work with the community to align our goals and your needs. But I do understand that there is some outstanding grief here that we need to work out.
Okay, because I mean, what happened to 116th Street was absolutely horrible. The people are so angry. I did attend the meeting, as well as Pascal. And it was
Which one?
96th Street
Oh, 96.
corridor.
Oh, okay.
The commissioner in your borough, that's the one. You're talking about.
Correct.
Mhm.
I do not want that to happen on Third Avenue or East 116th Street corridor.
Oh, you were at the forum. That's right.
Correct.
Okay.
The commissioner,
Yeah,
that was the title it was given.
I know. Mhm.
Where it was just more so everybody on the panel talking and not enough time for the people to talk. And when they were able to talk, it was truncated.
We can certainly talk more about that because our commissioner is on a rotating schedule throughout the boroughs and we are looking forward to another Manhattan commissioner in your borough day, so that's feedback I will take back. You know, we work with his team to produce the events for those days. And then in terms of the 96th Street comments, I was there, I was sitting in the front row. We can discuss more offline, because I do wanna talk, agency to committee about.
Okay, so we will give you this information. We will not take the motion. I guess my better doesn't it? We will not take the motion at this particular point. Yes, Mark?
Is it possible to add to the list of concern and?
Absolutely.
Yeah, in the design, can you make sure there is a safe connection from Third Avenue to the Third Avenue Bridge? Because I went there the other day, it's completely unsafe right now to cross over. There is nothing to accommodate bikes, and once this bike lane is there, I think there will be a need for, you know, bikes to be able to access the Third Avenue Bridge. And right now you can't use the overpass, only way is to cross over the roadway, and there is absolutely nothing that allows to do so. Yeah.
Were you here when it was presented?
There was nothing in the presentation about the connection to the Third Avenue Bridge. You know, we presented a layout to along the corridor, but there was nothing about the specific intersection.
Mark, can you write that down?
On cyclists would be able, yeah.
Can you write it down?
Yeah, sure.
And send it to the committee?
I can send you an email.
Thank you. Okay. All right, so. We are adjourned.
No, not. We're done, at least someone feels, but we have.
Oh, wait, we already did this. Didn't we already do this letter?
No, this is Isaac Scott's
Oh,
request.
no, I'm sorry, this
for
is
an
Isaac
open
Scott's thing, I'm sorry, I did get it.
No, the 116 bus, that was Carlos's request from last month, and then we'll follow up on, but this is
Right.
Isaac's.
This is Isaac Scott.
Open street, right, I mean, it's a DOT related item, maybe Raphael can at least stick around and help us out.
Okay, so if y'all do want to leave, you can now, it's a very short thing. This is East 116th Street, Open Street application.
115.
I'm sorry, I'm seeing it, but I have the 160th in my head. East 115th Street, Open Street application. The request to adopt a letter of support. And this is for Isaac Scott. This is he here online?
Isaac, are you here with us?
Yes, I am. Can y'all see me?
Can't see you, but
Camera.
you have the floor.
We can see you, Isaac, go ahead.
Okay, cool. Huh? Yes, I do need to share screen if that's okay with you guys.
Go ahead.
Thank you. So, yeah. First, I want to say you guys are very, very thorough. Just from one chair to another, Michelle, you're doing a great job, and I appreciate what you're doing. So I want to just first thank you, Michelle, and thank you for the entire Public Safety Committee for giving us a few minutes to share with you all our project for Open Streets. The reason it was a last minute addition is because the application, we need to have a letter of support before the application is put in, and the application is due March 31st. So I am on with the Kendra Dazzle from Street Labs. So I'm going to
Everyone.
so I'm going to present for about 5 minutes and just give the organization just a little bit of background for folks who don't know the mission, and then a little bit about our vision, and then I'll pass it over to the Kendra, and she'll tell you about how Street Labs is going to help us to sort of execute our vision. So everyone can see my screen, right?
Yes.
So okay, cool, y'all. So I'm not sure, if you are aware where the church is at. I'm always talking about them right there on 116th Street in Madison, but we are literally the church on the corner on 116th Street in Madison. That church has been there for about 50, 60 years. It's been in East Harlem for 104 years. It'll be celebrating. And about 12 years ago, it started a community outreach ministry called Another Choice Youth and Family Outreach. I've been there for the past few years. A lot of the work that we do there now involves, we have a food pantry, we have a clothing pantry, we do a lot of professional development with young people through our community service learning initiative. We also do a lot of public events for families, particularly, women, parents, and, because we're a youth and family ministry. And a lot of it does evolve around using the arts in a very strategical way to sort of bring community in, have conversations, and really get to the heart of the matter. So some of it is really dealing with people's direct needs. Sometimes people come in and they need just very basic things, and sometimes people have more complicated needs. And because we're housed in the church, we get all sort of requests. And, we also have a lot of partners, and we refer out, whereas we don't provide a particular service. So just a little bit about how we work. Research and advocacy is a huge part of how we work, understanding the community we're in, understanding the people who live here, and the issues that this community does have is very important to us so that we know how to service the community correctly. Building relationships is something that I mentioned a little bit, but we wouldn't be able to do our work without building relationships in the community, because we can't do it all ourselves. And a lot of, the organization is run by mostly church members who work in different areas in the community. Also, we've built a Arts Justice Safety Coalition, which is really a coalition of artists, practitioners, and folks working at the intersection of like art and social justice. And this is really our advocacy arm. This is how we do performances, we do plays, you know, and things like that. Youth engagement is a huge part of how we work. You know, when we say youth and family outreach, it's important that, you know, we really get youth leadership and we get their voices in the room so we don't dictate to young people. We really provide a lot of opportunities for them to, you know, express themselves at their age, what they need, you know, what are the issues that they're seeing and what concerns they have. And this is important because a lot of times you know, organizations run by adults and adult leaders don't, you know, really allow young people to have a voice and a place in leadership amongst the organization. So a little bit about our vision. Right now we have 3 floors. We have the main floor, which is the sanctuary floor where the church service takes place. Downstairs, we have a fellowship hall where we do a lot of our events and programming at. And we also have a top floor, 3rd floor. Now, this 3rd floor that you guys see up here, this has been unrenovated for about 50 years, I want to say. Once the elevators went out, you know, they sort of patched up the wall because they kept getting fines for it, so no one went upstairs. And you know that most of the congregation is sort of, I want to say, elderly folks, so folks wasn't walking up those flights of stairs. So a lot of the space went unrenovated. And Reverend James here, he sort of inherited this when he was assigned to this church. And this is what the space used to look like, you know, a few years ago when I came. We've been working on, our vision has been to build a solution center right here up in this space. And we have been galvanizing people and resources. And today the space looks like this, right? What we want to do is really transform this into a performance space and an art space. Where we can do a lot of like, not just an art space, let me not say it that way. I think that's limiting it. A lot of arts things will take place up here. We will have a performance space. We will have, you know, a conference room meeting space. We will have, you know, a printmaking art space up there. But the space is going to be used and meant for community. So one of the biggest things about this is that we didn't go into development as a church, whereas we get those letters every day from developers to sell that building and to let them build on that. And the vision was that we keep the space and we make it for community, and we make it a space where community can come and be and utilize the space, right? So part of the activation of that upstairs space is also us, you know, stepping outside and activating that entire block. You know, we are connected very much to the people on that block. Like I said, a lot of folks come to the church, they're members of the church, they support the ministry. This is the street that we want to start to develop our framework for how we will work upstairs in that space. We want to bring it out on bring it outside on the streets and start to do that performance dialogue, bringing together work right on our streets, especially in the summertime where we know, you know, a lot happens in the summer. You know, it was a good report that I heard the detective give earlier. This street right here, 115th Street, I'm not sure if folks walk up and down this block at all, but 115th Street, this whole block really is active. You know, we sit on, we got the dust spot and the dope spot like right next to each other, you know, so it's important that we like out there for the community and really trying to just do better things on this block. So this is a opportunity we see to really you know, just activate this block a bit more, and also just bring more awareness to the work that we want to do in the solution center and work with community more. So before folks ask, I have been tapping into, you know, community members all around. The building, the block, excuse me, TAF as well, because that's the housing complex there. East Harlem Community Partnership, which is down on 110th Street. I'm going to do my rounds. Eddie Gibbs' office is right here. Literally, we're going to be right outside his office. So you already know I'm running down on him. And I'm also going to walk over to Ayala's office as well. And we all have good relationships with them, all of them. So I don't anticipate us not getting support, but we wanted to follow due process and come before you all to, allow you to ask any questions you have. And I think that was more than 5 minutes. So I'll be quiet now, stop sharing, and I'll let the Kendras, take a few minutes to talk about how she'll help us do this.
Yes, thank you. Can I get host or screen share privileges as well so I can, oh, it looks like I can, I think. Okay, great. Thank you. So my name is Dekendra Dazzle. I am the program manager for Street Lab. We are a nonprofit that transforms New York City streets into places that improves lives, strengthens neighborhoods, and bringing New Yorkers together. So we do this by deploying custom gear that we have an in-house designer that creates gear to go out on the street. And we also support partners in what we call our new public spaces work to transform a blank street into a lively one that has activity, that has kids. This is actually at one of our school sites in the Bronx, where they use the street for outdoor learning. And so we incorporate both design, fabrication, programming, and community partnerships to really create our nonprofit. And so this is kind of like some of the custom gear that we've created over the years. And our programming varies. So we have several different programmings, like we have a read cart that goes out on the street. We have a build kit teaching kids about architecture or individuals about architecture through Legos and magnet tiles. We have an explore station where folks can learn about their natural environment, lived environment, trees, birds, and whatnot. And then we also have like a long table where folks can sit and engage in community eating, dining together, a free hands-free obstacle course for that kids really enjoy, and different activities that both engage older and a younger audience. And so our community partnerships is something that we've really transformed in the last year through our new public spaces work, which is what we would be doing with Isaac. In this process, a community partner will reach out and say, hey, like I want to, have an open street at my location. And so we'll support them really from the beginning, the ideation part of this to the actual implementation. So we work with DOT with the process of supporting these partners in getting an open street. How this looks like is we'll support them in talking to folks to get the letter of support before the application's even sent in. And then once the application's sent in, we'll basically be having conversation with DOT as well about this location, about the viability of the location. So sometimes we'll also do pilot events before to kind of assess like, okay, is this a location that makes sense for an open street? Can it be consistent? How do we support the partner in whatever they need? We also do several site visits and meetings and really engage with our host partner, which would be Isaac, to know the needs of the specific location in the community and address any concerns that might arise. We make sure that we give ample notice to the community as well that like, hey, this is happening or this will happen in the future. And then we also do a lot of the planning and permits. So I would be handling the permits through SAPO to make sure that this open street runs extremely well. And then planning with Isaac as well of what he wants to see in the street. And we also, involve our partner a lot. And then it goes into outreach and engagement, again, reaching out to the community, letting them know what's going on, putting up signs saying, parking will be suspended between the few hours of the open street. And then it's on the street, activating it. We've done this several times. So some outcomes is that people really enjoy the activations. They feel excited to go out. It feels like something's happening on the block. The space feels more welcoming and the communities really feel more connected. And so we've done this on a few locations, specifically Decatur Ave has been a very successful one where they've had roller skating on the street, they've had planting on the street, we've done Halloween on the street, so many different engagements. They learned curling on the street as well, and they became an open street last year. And this is their Halloween street, it really transformed. There was a ton of folks that came out. They had a haunted house that they curated themselves and used our custom gear to also kind of fill the street with activities. We've also done Jennings Street as well. One year we had the Yankees come out and, you know, teach the kids a bunch of stuff, and they got to also engage with that. So that was really awesome. And yeah, so we also have Grand Ave. They're a daycare that they've come out on the street a bunch of times, engaging both the daycare and the local community and activities and coming together. And we also do feedback. So we get feedback from the community about what the street means to them through our Imagine activation, understanding what the community's priorities are, what they feel about open streets in general. So we're always consistently engaging with the community, getting their feedback and knowing what maybe can be changed or improved. And then looking forward. So how do we develop a sustainable operating model for streets? We are constantly, you know, this is a image of our project manager kind of going to all of our different sites, checking in, making sure that everything's running smoothly. But we put in all this work to really have long-term support in creative, empowering ways, involving the community in all that we do. So folks can think bigger and have more holistic partnerships in locations. And then also we empower our youth and our partners in order to really take on this lift. So this is at the church. Actually, we already started connecting with the youth that Isaac has to brainstorm ideas and see with the photo voice to see, you know, what are areas of change in your community. And then the next part of it is them creating ideas that they want to see, and it's going to be implemented on the street as well throughout the summer and at one of our launch street events. So yeah, it's connecting with youth, it's connecting with the partner. And we also create templates to make sure that, you know, every year, slowly as we kind of phase out Street Lab, Isaac is well equipped. And so are the folks that he is bringing up in training to do this on his own and with enough support. And then also they can always anyone can reach out to Street Lab and say like, hey, we need your support, and we'll be able to help in any way needed. So yeah, this is Decatur Ave, just folks really having a great time. This was their carnival event that they had, and really self-run, created all of this. So yeah, thank you for your support. We are requesting a letter of support to be able to apply for the Open Street application. And yeah, if you all have any questions, we're very open to answering that.
Thank you. The Department of Transportation is here right now. So it's two at the same time. Anyone have any
already
questions?
have the letter.
Pardon?
They already have the approval letter. It's for your input.
Don't you need a letter of support from us in order to follow through with the application, right? Also.
Okay, anyone have any
I have a
questions?
question. You mentioned that that's the street where the assembly gives his office at, and you mentioned the projects, but you didn't mention that there's a big building that takes half of the block, and you've not mentioned any kind of services you're gonna provide that building, because there's a senior building / non-for-profit building, which is I think it's called Colon Plaza. Could you give me a little what you're gonna do, because they're the ones that are the tenants in that block, and you didn't mention anything about it?
Yeah, can I share screen, Kendra? Thank you. Thank you for that question. And yeah, I was actually waiting for the questions to get deeper into, because we didn't talk about what the actual theme would be and what we would actually be doing outside. And I would also note that a lot of those folks in that building are part of our church as well. So we are in conversation with them, and they'll be a part of organizing the activities on the street. But the street is the theme is around art and wellness. So we will be exploring wellness in a lot of different ways. We will be doing, we will have sections in the street that are geared specifically towards, so let me say it this way, back up a little bit, saying a lot fast. There will be activities there will be presenters there, and there will also be like live sort of exercises that people can be doing. So like yoga in the streets and different things like that. Breathing techniques we'll be bringing in people for. There'll also be just very basic information given out to people, resources, but the street will be active under the premise of art and wellness. And it is geared towards, specifically to your question, Carlos, it's geared specifically towards a spectrum from seniors to young people. So we want to have parts of the street that are activated in areas that are just doing programming for our seniors. And of course, we'll have the Human Services Committee a part of this, and Robin Stration will be a huge help in organizing this as well. So that is, and as well, the Youth and Education Committee will be helping us with, our programming for young people. So, yes, I hope that sort of answers some of that, but
Yeah,
yes, Kendra, please.
it does. But I think one of the things that you should do is not only speak one to the tenant, but there's a management company there, which is called, I think it's the 163 Block Association with Candy Vasquez, who's a member of our board. And she's very active in this block. I mean, many years ago, it was a stickball block where everybody plays stickball, and it was always used that way. But I think for something like this, you should reach out to Candy because she is the president of the 116th Street Block Association, and her office happens to be in the same block. So I think
Yeah.
if you have some collaboration with her and with the members of the board, maybe to make sure that everything runs smoothly for you.
Yeah, thank you for that. Kendra, were you going to say something?
Yeah, I also just wanted to add that while sometimes like the block might be like, be used for those like yoga and wellness, other times it's also going to be used for different programming. So we also want to make the programming for the summer streets flexible as well. So so you all know, like some days it might be programming where folks can come and sit on our one big bench. Kids can chalk on the street, or we can bring the table out and have them sit and eat and dine together. Or maybe the church wants to do something on the street catered, or maybe a workshop or a seminar or something like that. So it can really vary week to week on what the programming might be like. But the plan is to really, like Isaac said, engage every age group, everyone on the block as well, get the word out as much as possible so folks feel informed, so folks feel included. And then, of course, the day of on the street, encouraging people to come, telling folks what we're doing consistently. And at our other sites, we make sure that this is a practice of just making sure that folks feel informed and heard. And if we do get feedback ever that, hey, like I didn't know about this, we're quick to engage that person, bring them along, hear their ideas, and see how we can include folks in the community.
Okay, so it sounds like this is to add another open street to the area, correct?
Correct.
Yes.
Between Park and Madison.
Yes.
And this is for
115th
Sundays,
Street.
or Saturdays, or both days?
No, so we haven't finalized it, but the goal was to be Fridays, maybe 12 to 6 p.m., 12 p.m. to 6 p.m.
And do you have all the paperwork for like, I think it's in a 5-block radius, the different names that you've gotten to sign in the neighborhood?
Yeah, so part of it is yes, to say yes and no. We're getting the support now. I'm spending time here with you all to get this, but we are doing our rounds and we'll have all those letters before the 31st. I didn't want to I'll be honest with y'all. I know this would be a long process dealing with the community board, and I didn't want to just go to like everybody else and just get enough letters to just do the application with Street Lab. I actually did want to get the community board support. That's why I'm here today. So we have some of them, not all of them yet.
Okay, so Friday between the hours of 12 to 6, between Park Avenue and Madison Avenue. The support, you're requesting a letter of support for.
Yeah, so we have a template already for the letters that we need to get, and I'm sorry.
You're asking for a letter of support for different types of programmings during that time. And you will be getting all that information for us, the required information that's usually with license and permit, because that's usually who takes on these types of applications. And that if all that information would be received by the time that we vote for it in the full board, correct?
I'm a little confused about that. And then also, like, I asked, so I'm not 100% sure about what committee I was supposed to be at. So I emailed Angel and Khalid, and they told me to come to this one because I'm believing because of DOT. With regards to I think the Kendra just sort of laid out the process we're going to take for getting the application completed. I don't think this is a process that you guys this may not be a process you're familiar with working with Street Lab. So we're doing the same things, but Street Lab is sort of helping us expedite things.
Okay, thank you, Isaac.
Thank you, Isaac. So what Isaac is requesting and the Kendra is asking, our support for them to have the open street application go through. Not necessarily that we're focused on the events and the program that's happening on the block.
Yeah.
That's over that. That's not above us, but that's outside of this purview, unless you want to consider public safety. But they need to be able to close that street, that segment on the Fridays at that time frame from during what time? During the summertime, Isaac?
Yes, it's 6 weeks during the summer.
Understood. So they're asking for the community board to provide support in order for them to be able to go through with that application for open streets. So not less of the focus on the programming, but more so on the technical aspect of closing down the street, because then that would impact parking. I don't think there's a bus traveling along that lane. I'm not sure.
That's what I wanted to ask.
Right, exactly. So that's where you guys could have that, level of purview. And he's
Yeah, there's
asking
no
for-
bus. There's no bus down there. Sorry, thank you, Khalid. There's no bus lane here. The only thing is there is a parking, like the housing parking in Taft. The parking lot is on the right side of this, like my right, their left coming into that block.
Understood.
And they would have access?
Yes.
Yes,
So
sorry.
they would have access. We can do different kinds of permitting. We actually did a site visit on this block, and we realized like it's a very long block is one thing, and we can always kind of put barricades before that, or we can do something called a limited local access where individuals who still need to get into that complex can, and it wouldn't be blocked off. It just means that the street is closed for back and forth traffic. And then of course we would have barricades and signage to inform folks that, after a certain point, there is active, engagement on the street, and to also protect those using the street at that time. So it wouldn't necessarily infringe on folks who needed to get into that complex.
And how do the folks have you spoken to any of those folks in that complex? About
Yes,
been
Michelle.
excitement about this.
Yes, Michelle, we have, yes. Many of them
Okay.
go to our church and are part of the programming and the work we're doing, and they'll be a part of the organizing.
Thank you, Raphael.
Yes, Raphael?
Hello, Raphael Escano, Borough President, Borough Planning. I have a question. You basing these comments on the letter that you have already received for approval? Was that-
I'm sorry. So okay, Khalid, could you explain what you just explained again, please?
Which part? Sorry, Evan?
You're asking about the letter, so we need to get letters to start the application.
This is the Department of Transportation.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. This is a question maybe for you, Kendra.
I'm sorry, it's
Yeah,
kind
because
of
we can't hear y'all. It's a lot going
there's
on.
a few people talking at the same time. Can you repeat the question, please?
Raphael Escano, Borough Planner from DOT. I just wanted to understand what you are referring to here. We sent CB11 a letter, notification letter of this open street application. This notification letter has already been approved by DOT. But we just want to notify you in case you have any concern of this street being closed for this particular purpose. I think that they have really very impressively presented their case very nicely. And the reason why we send the letter is so not to notify you that this is happening. This letter go also to the precincts and to also the elected. So if they do have any concerns, they can let us know in 45 days whether they are really deserving of this open street, right? But is there any application, I mean, any other application or location that is, that you are trying to get as well?
No.
Not at the moment, no. This is the focus for East Harlem.
Oh, okay, because.
So Raphael, what they're doing here is the process of getting a letter of support from the community board of women.
Right.
Saying that this
Madam Chair,
application was wrong.
this is Carlos. I like to make a motion to give him a letter of support because it would enhance, you know, the things for the young people in the community.
Just let me,
Having a discussion.
just for the, just.
There's no one talking about the discussion.
Just for clarity.
Just DLT.
This letter notify you that this organization was approved for an open street in your district. If you do have any concerns, feel free to let me know.
And the concerns are being discussed now, Raphael.
Right, that's what I'm saying,
So
so,
literally, we're talking about our concerns
exactly, I mean, if you.
right now.
You could take it as a letter of approval, and that is fine with us.
Okay,
So-
only because Isaac has come to us saying that they needed this letter of support from here in order to move forward with this application, but.
Well, that's kind of what it is, because if you do not approve it,
Okay,
then we would have problem with the application.
understood.
And this is
Okay.
the reason why you have 45 days from the beginning when you receive it.
And this is what we're talking about right now. And so
Exactly.
our concern, and it wasn't a very hard concern because she was able to answer it.
It's right, it was,
quickly,
I enjoyed it.
was the TAF parking, because we don't want people not to have access to their parking lot. Because then some people would be very angry. And so that was one of our concerns, and she was
Right.
excited very easily. And Carlos had also a concern.
No, Carlos made a motion.
He just had a motion to approve it.
Yeah, but there's still questions.
Okay.
Carlos asked about Candy. And I just want to say that I'm not here to go against Candy. Like I can't imagine trying to write a letter of support without seeing if Candy, who's the chair of the block association on that block, is okay. But, you know, and that comes from being Candy's tenant, and she's very sensitive about what happens on that block. I was her tenant before Gibbs came along.
Thank you. I mean, I'm sorry, thank you for making that statement. I'll say two things there. One, I don't imagine Candy won't partner with us on this, you know, and of course, you know, and I very much appreciate Carlos for even bringing that up. So one, I don't think she would not partner with us on this, because we would want her partnership as well with people who live on that block, because the programming is for them. But the second thing I would say is that there are a lot of people who live on that block who support this event, and I do respect Candy very much, but I wouldn't hang the support of this type of event on that block to one person as if that
But it's
person decides.
not the one person, you got that whole building.
I understand, and I'm saying
You were
that
able to put together, you know, 20 years ago. And I think the courtesy should be that, you know, as the
100%, 100%. But we're here today because we need to put in the application for this. We need to get support to put in the application.
Valerie,
We haven't.
Yeah, so I also think what we're saying too is what we've also done with partners in the past is that sometimes in collaboration, folks will even share the street. Like one day, let's say if Candy wanted to use the street for a specific thing on the open street day, I'm sure that's completely fine where like, she can come out, we can all work together. And if she had anything that she wanted to do on the street, in conjunction with Isaac or possibly separate on the same open street day, that's always a possibility. So collaboration is actually the goal and the focus on the street. So it's never that like, people are being left out or not focused on. It's in fact like, yeah, if you are really passionate about the street, that's even better. So that way that we're really catering to the street, and then having that one day for those few hours to make intentional programming an impact.
Well, me personally, I feel kind of upset that it's on a Friday where I can't even come and hang out. I'm just sad because I'm working all that time. Open streets have been a place in the community where it starts off with one group and then all these other groups come in and just stores start saying, oh, well, I have this, I have that, and everyone starts coming in. It becomes a potluck sort of thing and a very vibrant, happy occasion every time it happens. I love open streets. And I think it just blossoms into a very beautiful bouquet. Carlos, you made a motion?
I did.
Any questions?
I make a motion to.
I'm sorry, Valerie has a question.
One second.
Hold on, Valerie.
Why didn't this go to the licensing committee?
Yes, Kelly had said earlier, can you repeat yourself?
Isaac, explain it, I'm sorry.
But I
Isaac, you can go ahead and explain that, Isaac, if you'd like.
We are at, because we're blocking off the street. Hey, Valerie, we're blocking off the street. And I think that's why we had to come before the transportation committee.
Oh, no, so it was more of a time restriction for them, so they only just initiated this app or received the prompts to initiate this application after the licenses and permits committee meeting.
Yes, I'm sorry, yes, I'm sorry.
And so it was either a decision between bringing it before public safety and transportation or executive committee. And since we work with DOT, this is a DOT related application. It was, I mean, they're closing a whole street off and that's, relevant in terms of transportation, transit, et cetera, so forth. So DOT has to review that and make sure that it's okay to redirect traffic for the timeframes across.
The DOT approves, says he have approved.
Yeah, this is, the DOT is sort of like the last step.
If we disapprove,
No,
they will take it back.
Let me explain, we have already approved it. It's kind of the last step from an institutional way
It's to get a committee
to go, right, and that's the reason why we usually send it to the community board for them to do what you're doing now.
Yes, their deadline is the 13th for.
And like, both won't have a problem with us.
No, it was actually either, correct. Well,
I did ask that question before this went on.
So I second the motion.
Wait,
The motion has not been made.
yes, the motion was made by Carlo.
Oh, is it?
okay.
Yeah,
Hansi. What do you call the roll? Sure.
The roll is to be called. Thank you.
Okay, roll call vote, 1 second, so we have more members. Okay, so we have 8 members present and we need 5 in order for this motion to pass. Carlos Diaz,
Yes.
Pascal Hano,
President.
Pascal.
Oh.
Yes or no? You don't be confused.
Wanda Hopkins,
Yes.
thank you. Christina Johnson,
Yes.
Jewel Jones,
Abstain.
thank you. Valerie Ponce,
Yes.
Don Sanders,
Abstain.
Michelle Wilshire Clement.
Yes.
Motion passes with 2 abstentions.
Thank you, everyone.
All right.
Thank you.
So they,
Make sure you reach out to Candy, please.
Yes, I will, sir. I will do that, sir.
Thank you very much.
I must tell you, the deputy commissioner likes it so much that she stayed a little longer.
Really nice presentation.
Don Sanders and Jewel Jones are abstaining, right?
Yes.
Yes. You don't need me anymore. you have another, you do have another letter.
What?
But not to, I guess the recipient is not here to send it.
Which letter is that?
Is it about 120th Street?
Oh, that you mean for the bus?
No, for the street.
The open one.
Yeah, you have, two open street notification letters.
So then I don't know about the other one, then we'll have to follow for that one.
Oh, okay.
I don't know about another open
Yeah,
street
this is
letter.
the only one that I'm aware of, at least right now, for.
What we need that CB10.
What's this indecision, but the two were.
No, the Marcus Smith Malcolm on 120 to be CB10.
120?
The open street, the Marcus Smith Malcolm open street would follow.
Yes.
CB10.
Okay.
Okay, so I,
Are you?
unaware of
familiar with
that, open street?
It might not be in our district, it might be somewhere else.
Okay,
Please.
so therefore,
Actually, right, there was some.
we are going to adjourn this meeting.
But,
Roll call, please.
We'll determine that.
yeah.
We're adjourning this meeting now because we're done on our agenda. Roll call, please.
Now, Pastor, you say. Carlos Diaz,
Yeah.
thank you, Pascal Hano,
President.
Wanda Hopkins,
Present.
thank you, Christina Johnson,
Present.
Jewel Jones.
Present.
And Valerie Ponte, Don Sanders,
Present.
Michelle Wilshire Clement.
Present.
All right, that's it. The meeting.
The meeting is adjourned at 9:15. Good night.
Yeah, this is Carlos Diaz. How are you?